resources here to rebuild those communities. Another component of that community is also mental health. We've seen a lot of suicides, unfortunately, in the last few months from that area, because as you all know, you go out there, it's heartbreaking. I mean, it is absolutely heartbreaking that you see people who are third, fourth, fifth generation, who had their entire life savings blown away and on the ground. And what was $1,500 an acre is now costing you $2,000, $3,000 to get off the land. So what incentive do you have to not only clear your land, but reforest? Because now it's a 10 or 20 year return on investment for reforestation. So we are doing, and I think the block grants are going to help, because part of the block grant formulation will be that if you are planning on reforest, you get X amount of money. If you're planning on using other parts for the agricultural land, you get a different amount. So we are very on top of the situation and figuring out the resources that are needed, working with the governor's office and working with USDA and FEMA to get money down here as soon as possible so we can start clearing it out. And I also want to give a hats off to my forestry department. My forestry department has been out there every single day, including a lot of them that lived there, that were there through the hurricane, that had their own chainsaws getting through their house and then getting to their neighbors' houses. And my biggest concern is the forest fires, that when you've got 72 million tons of timber that is laying on the ground, and we are in a dry season, and we're now in the hurricane season again too, that all of it's a double whammy, that not only were they hit the first time from the hurricane, but once the fires start, and that was half of our conversation with FEMA, is asking them to get that additional $10 million here to our state so we can help clear out the forest, because once those fires start, it is going to be a devastation to that community, not only destroying what is left of their schools and their churches and their homes, but also the smoke in the air is going to prevent tourists from coming down to the area, dangerous for the road. So this is something that is every night keeping me up, working on it.
Is there any tax incentives set aside on the federal or state levels where these folks can get directly reimbursed for their clearing costs?
There's no tax incentives, but that would be part of the block. Part of the block grant is money for clearing. So that is part of the process. Is step one is clearing it, step two is reforestation, and step three is making sure that they can live while they're waiting for the return on the investment. So part of it, but the other tax incentive aspects, which comes into place with the hemp aspect, is that we also know a lot of the panhandle is economic opportunity zones, and trying to make sure that entrepreneurs and people with dollars in their pockets understand that there might be really a gold mine there to work with the local communities on these economic opportunity zones and invest dollars in the community.
Thank you.
So my question has to do with water quality. First of all, I want to laud you for appointing Chris Pettit as your Ag Water Policy Director. Great guy, he'll do great. But we have water quality issues all across the state, a lot of TMDL, total maximum compared water bodies. And historically, ag has been resisted to accepting more nutrient reduction beyond BMPs, beyond best management practices. And while I know you guys are implementing new BMPs, like for hemp, for instance, something needs to be done to increase nutrient runoff or reduce nutrient runoff from ag sites beyond BMPs. What are you guys doing to address that?
Yeah, so every 5 years, BMPs get reviewed. So we're in the process of doing some of that stuff. Which is also what I keep talking about, innovation and technology, that there is new ways of dealing with water quality, capturing of the runoff, recycling of the water, and that was kind of a lot of the reasons why we went to Israel, because they have perfected a lot of the water quality issues. And taking some of that new technology and bring them here, and then working with our ag community and saying, listen, if we don't do this voluntarily, at some point it's going to be forced. I don't have the authorization to force them into any programs. We are working on different ideas of how to incentivize them, whether it's tax programs, whether it's cost share programs. So we are constantly working with them, because you are right. We still need to do our part, but we also have to realize that more and more people are coming into our state. Every single month we have 1,000 people that are moving into the state. We've lost significant, since 1970, we've lost significant amount of agricultural land to development. And so we also have to be looking at what is happening on the development land. What is happening with the homeowners associations on allowing fertilizers and pesticides, and how often you're watering your land and your front lawns. And so I think it's more than just ag, it's a partnership, which is why we're looking at a holistic approach to trying to figure out what we can do for both the ag side of things, but also what we can be doing for the residential aspect as well. But we are constantly on top of it. I don't like seeing the papers every morning saying we've got another algae break, and know that I have a part to play in the solutions, and we are every day coming up with ideas of how to move forward with protecting our waters.
Yes, as a physician, I'm concerned a little bit about medical marijuana. It's only been really proven in childhood seizures and in increasing appetite in AIDS patients. I was hoping we could get better research to prove it does cause euphoria, and I'm not so sure that some of the benefits aren't that euphoria and not really treating the condition and giving a false hope to some of these patients. Also, I think what we've done is created a pill mill for medical marijuana, and only having limited physicians doing it. To me, I think it needs to be expanded so that all physicians can do it without making it so hard to get approved, or just legalizing marijuana, and let's put it out there and not make it a profitability for people that in some conditions are unscrupulous. I would hope you'd work toward that.
Yes, so there's three parts to that. The first part is the research. You're right. The research is not here in America. The research is in Israel. I have met with some of the most advanced researchers, doctors, physicians, bioscientists that have been doing clinical studies for the last 10 to 15 years, and the research that's coming out is mind-boggling. So we are planning on a day summit, bringing a lot of those doctors and those physicians and the experts from Israel to come here to the United States to not only educate the doctors here, but also to work with our current license holders to make sure that they're utilizing that research when they're doing their formulations. So you're right, and part of that is because it's still a Schedule I narcotic, and so we haven't been able to do the research here in the United States. That is slowly coming. There's a lot of private groups here in the state that is doing some of the clinical research on their own privately and not through anything authorized. Two, you are also very right on the pill mill situation. I have been a very big advocate of reducing the regulations for doctors, and that is why most doctors are not on the registry. Because if the way that it works now, that for a doctor to put a patient onto the registry, not only do they take a 2-hour course, that's besides that, but they also have to go through all of these 15-page checklists and say how much frequency, dosing, the quality, the delivery mechanism. It walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a prescription. And so most doctors are unwilling to risk their license until it becomes no longer Schedule I. And so the only people who are willing to be on there on a lot of occasions are going to be the ones who are focusing their entire medical practice into medical marijuana. And the point that I see is that I want the oncologists, I want your general practitioners, the people that are specializing in Lou Gehrig's, in AIDS, in cancer, and epilepsy. I want those doctors on the registry. But because they still have a problem with getting, it's still Schedule I, that is becoming a problem. So that is one of the things that I'm on a mission on, is to kind of reduce the overhead and paperwork for our doctors to make sure that more doctors can actually go onto the registry.
Thank you.
Florida faces a booming water shortage, yet fracking is legal in the state of Florida. And fracking wastes up to 1 million gallons of clean water per well. Additionally, there's health impacts. The Florida Medical Association is deeply concerned about the health impacts of fracking. What is it that you plan to do to keep Florida frack-free?
Well, there was some legislation that was being worked on this session. I don't have the power to stop fracking. But I have been very vocal on my opposition for fracking inside of the state, as well as drilling in the Everglades and off our shores. So I've been a very vocal advocate for banning the fracking and the drilling. Until which time that I receive the power to do anything else, my voice and organizing people and continue to support legislation that bans fracking, because you're right, that is, once you destroy the environment, and we don't know the impacts, we don't know the full impacts of fracking and drilling, and if you don't know the impacts and it's then too late, and I'd rather be safe than sorry, And so I will continue to be a strong advocate for legislation that bans all type of fracking here in our state.
We're so glad that you've gotten the opportunity to make a difference. You're clearly passionate, you clearly know the areas that you can make a difference. You know the motto of Rotary, do you? Service above self. So I know we can't get you to become a member of the club because you would be favoring a community above your home, okay?
I live here now.
You're still a Miamian.
Yes, I was born and raised in Miami, yes.
I lived in Miami for 5 years. I loved it. I was vice president of Florida International University. And my brother is David Lawrence. In any event, I think we've got lots of things that we care about together. But I would love you to do this. Know that you can come here at any time when you have a success. In other words, if we're able to figure out how do we get doctors like Dr. Mike Forstoff, when he does an annual physical on many of us, and if it's pain, he's not going to give us marijuana, and I don't want him to give us marijuana. But I would like those people who have spina bifida have some things that they did not cause. They were born with it. What I'd love you to do is to commit that maybe, let's see, the new board comes on board July 1st, 2020. Kay Kendrick is our president. We know she's going to do a great job. She's got an incredible board that wants to make a difference. What I'd like you to commit to is that you will be a program next, whatever month you decide, but it's got to be before July 1st. That you come back and say, here's what we've done. I'm appalled that I can look at my phone when it rings and see a number and it says anonymous. What on earth is that? Do I pick it up? No. You'd be absolutely stupid. And sometimes you pick it up and they want to sell you insurance. Sometimes they want to tell you how wonderful the police are and they need to get some money for something. So I have hope that you, as the sole Democrat on the campus, you will do what you can on finding a way to get the felons who deserve to vote, get some way, get that cleaned up. So may we have your commitment, depending on your schedule, we can do it in, let's see, the last 2 months. Okay? I think you feel really good at being able to describe not just hope, but results. I will give you that much.
And thank you for being so passionate. I promise I will be back here. Like I said, I moved to Leon County, so this is not my home. But I still wear my gator pride very, very loudly. But I will
There are
definitely.
some people here who are gators who have fallen in love with Tallahassee, Florida, and they become blended.
I don't know about that. Thank you.
As we close our meeting today, I'm told there's a tradition that it's time for me to pass over last year's banner to our previous president. Yes. And Donald, you have truly been an inspiration to our club and those you served.
Too quick, too shy. Thank you.
Now, I'm also told that there's a picture of me carrying off the new theme flag, and no one can now locate it. But I promise you, a new one will be here shortly. So, if you would, please join me in reciting the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? will it bear to all concerned, will it be with goodwill that exchanges, will it be beneficial to all concerned. And please recite the new Rotary theme for 2019-20, Rotary connects the world.